Charlie, thanks for joining us.
Glad to do it.
I think the question on everybody's mind is what made you decide to run?
Well, I love Portland, and I think a lot of people have looked at the city in the last few years and said we've got to have more dynamic and effective leadership than we have there today. It's not that I disagree with everything that's going on in City Hall now, but not enough is going on, and we need to make real progress against the issues in the city. We've got a jobs problem in this community. Got a lot of young, creative people moving here. I'm happy to see that, but they're massively underemployed, and we need to do something about that. And I'd like to focus more on the businesses that are already here. I'm happy about the new businesses that have been recruited with incentives to come here. That's great, but there's not enough incentives to go around and not enough to solve this problem. So we're going to have to make Portland a hospitable place to grow a small business. And that requires, I think, a message from City Hall that we're going to help wherever we can, and then 15 or 20 little things like permits and parking and taxes that people find either irritating or tolerable in business. This whole issue of East Portland, you know, we annexed a large area into the city when I was on the city council because it didn't have sewers. We built the sewers, but we have not yet built the paved streets, the sidewalks, and the parks to make those full-service Portland neighborhoods, and I'd like to see us address that. And then I love our police bureau. I think by and large they do a great job, but we've had these terrible incidents where they've used too much force and people have died that weren't a public safety problem, and that's not acceptable. So we need to go back, I think, more to the model of community policing, where our officers worked more with the neighborhoods and spent less time just responding to calls. So those are some of the issues that drive me, you know, to do this. I mean, I've always said about politics that you should run for office because you want to do something, not because you want to be something. And I think I passed that test. I have a great life. I have a great job. My family life is wonderful. I don't have to do this for validation or employment, but I'd like to do it for the public good.
You've been in the private sector now for 9 years. Have you been itching to get back into public office?
No, I've been having a very successful career helping other cities build light rail and streetcar projects. I've enjoyed that work very much, and we've done a lot of good work around the country. My company's grown from about 2,700 people to about 8,000 people in that time. Not all my doing, but I helped. So we've been successful. I haven't been walking by City Hall saying, I should be back in there. But lately I've been walking by City Hall saying, we can do better.
So why get back in and not stay with your company? I mean, you have these feelings, and they've been building up inside lately or for a long time?
Oh, for the last couple of years. I mean, at some point you just have to step up. And it took me a while, frankly, to go from thinking, well, somebody should do this, to, well, maybe I should do it, to, I really want to do this and believe that I'm the right person for the times.
And yet you talked about bringing jobs in and incentives. We just saw the Solo Power deal, for example,
Right.
was one. You know, we're seeing the max be expanded. So what is it you're yearning to change about how City Hall operates?
Well, there are thousands of businesses that are already here, and they interface with the city government through the permit process, through their water and sewer rates, through working out transportation problems in their neighborhood. Fran's Bread, right down the street from this television station, has had some problems lately trying to work things out with the city for their trucks to get to and from their business. You know, business doesn't need city government to be their everyday partner. They need city government to be an occasional and effective partner. Business has its own job to do, but city government can help.
Do you expect that to be an issue in the campaign? Who is the most business-friendly candidate?
I expect it to be an issue in the campaign, and I expect everybody to talk about jobs, but I've been out in the private sector creating them. So I think I might bring some credentials to that issue that maybe somebody who's never been outside of government can't.
As I read up on your legacy, your involvement in creating parks here in Portland and creating the streetcar system in downtown and expanding the MAX line, what do you see changing with those now going forward? If you come back into office, how do parks change? How does the transportation change?
We got part of the job done with parks. I'm very happy about what we did with the bond measures. We built new community centers in East Portland and Southwest Portland, and we rebuilt the old Mount Scott Community Center and added that wonderful pool. I love those facilities. And we fixed up about 110 parks around the city. But there's still undeveloped park parcels that are just sitting there growing blackberries that ought to be real neighborhood parks. And there's still parts of the city that ought to have a community center and don't, like inner southeast. So I'd like to work with Commissioner Fish. I think he's doing a great job, by the way. and get another parks bond measure in front of the voters sometime in the next few years. So that's part of the agenda. With streetcars, we've done great things in Portland with streetcar. We made this old rail yard turn into a Pearl District. That's great. It's worked out well. It's going to help with the South Waterfront. I think we should look at streets like MLK Boulevard in Alberta, which are in the city's long-range plan, and see if we can find a way to get streetcar into the neighborhoods more, not just downtown.
When we see the last week's result of the election in which voters rejected the Portland Public Schools bond, do you think there is an appetite for the kind of park bond that you were just speaking of, or for the money to come up with greater transportation infrastructure?
I think we have to be modest in what we ask of people. I supported that bond measure and I worked on the campaign, but it was a big number. And there was a lot of sticker shock associated with that number. So I think doing things in smaller bites, especially in a fragile economy, is probably a smarter approach. So I'd like to see us going out with $50 million or $75 million bond measures for things that everybody wants to invest in, rather than waiting until it gets to the point that we've got to ask for $500 million.
Internet commentators are notoriously cruel when they have the chance to talk about somebody, but some of them raise points that need to be asked. One question for you is, with your connection in the private sector to the streetcar industry, to transportation, would voters have any reason to be concerned that there may be a conflict of interest with you in charge of City Hall?
Well, I don't think it will surprise anybody that I support transit. I did when I was in City Hall before. We built interstate light rail. That was something I pushed hard for and got a lot of flack from a few people for. I helped make airport light rail happen, and of course the streetcar was my signature project as well. So I got called Choo Choo Charlie for a while there because I do support transit, and I'm sure I will again. You can't have a conflict of interest when you're on the city council, because you've got to take all of your private investments and your private career and put them on a shelf. So I'll quit my job and I won't have any connection with the industry. I'll have one paycheck, and that'll be from the city of Portland if I win the office.
So you would not have any financial gain, but clearly voters would need to keep in mind that if they elect you, you're not unabashed in your support for expanding.
Absolutely, and I believe we've made Portland a lot better city with light rail and streetcar and a good transit system. We also need to pay some attention to the streets and roads in this town. We've got 60 miles of unpaved roads in Portland. We've got streets out in East Portland that connect schools and parks and light rail that don't even have sidewalks. So that needs work, and we need a balanced transportation system so that people can drive a truck, ride a bike, take transit as they need to.
A couple more things. On your campaign website, there's a video that you released, your campaign message, and in some of the statements in that you said, we need real leadership, that you have the ability to bring people together and to get things done. Can you get specific on what's lacking right now in City Hall leadership? When you say we need real leadership, you're saying the City Hall doesn't have real leadership right now?
Leadership involves bringing people together and agreeing on a vision, and then taking personal risk to get it done. And I think you should look carefully at people in office or seeking office and say, when have they stuck their neck out? When I proposed a new community center in southwest Portland, there were a few people in that neighborhood that fought it bitterly. My son went out and climbed over the chain link fence to take down a graffiti on a construction site that said, "How do you like Charlie Hales' wet dream now?" He was 11 years old. I had to deal with that. I had to deal with a few people that fought very hard against adding women and minorities to the Fire Bureau. I was sued personally because we tried to set up a trainee program that would bring women and minorities into what was then an all-white, all-male organization. So there are a few times that I can point to, more than a few, when I stuck my neck out, I took the hits, and I got the right thing done. Ask yourself, is that happening now? Do I see people taking risks for the public good, putting their political hide at risk, or not?
So you feel those are attributes that a leader should have. So I need to ask you specifically about Mayor Sam Adams. Do you see him being a leader, and do you see him having the ability to bring people together and get things done?
There's a lot of things happening in city government that I like, and not everything that Sam's doing I disagree with, but I think he now, for whatever set of reasons, seems unwilling to take political risks for the public good. And that's a basic requirement of leadership if you're going to get anything done.
A couple other things I would ask you. We're talking a lot about some rate increases for sewer and water. Are you following the budget? Are you paying attention? And how do you weigh in on that?
The city budget is a monster. It requires detailed work. I think there's some things that haven't been looked at in a while that need real attention, and then maybe my time in the private sector has sharpened some of my interest in these issues. There's a lot of overhead positions in city government. You know, in every organization there are line positions that do the work, whether it's firefighters or your painting contractor, and then there are people that manage that work. I think that ratio of management and overhead in city government to people that are really delivering the services is out of whack. Not in any one bureau, but actually pretty much across the board. That's an issue that hasn't gotten looked at in a while, and I'd like to.
You left your term. You left office before your term expired in 2002. Do you look back upon that and have second thoughts, or did you make the right decision?
No, I think I made the right decision. It was an opportunity to go help these other cities take on these ideas of light rail and streetcar and walkable streets and livable neighborhoods. They were all hungry for that help, and we've been providing it. And then on a personal level, my wife and I had 5 20-somethings that all needed help with college. So it was a good time to be in the private sector, and the last one of those kids just graduated in December. So we shouldered that responsibility and got it done. So between the opportunity to go help other cities and the urgency of helping our kids through college, it was the right time to go out into the private sector.
In this election, would you commit to serving all 4 years?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I know that's a concern, that people say, well, you know, if you weren't able to serve your whole term before, can you do that now? Yeah, I'm in a position to do that now. I'm in a position to dedicate myself to the city and give back now that those family and professional responsibilities have been taken care of.
And last question, it's expected to be a very crowded field. What do you think this election will be like?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. We're still a year away from the primary and almost 18 months away from a runoff. I've been through that process before. I know how long it is, but it's also good that it's long in the sense that it's the chance to talk to a lot of people. So look for me on your doorstep if you don't find me otherwise.
Do you expect to be challenging the current mayor?
I expect to be offering myself as an alternative. That's really what people are looking for.
And do you expect him to run?
I think he will.
Okay. Any questions you'd like to ask Kevin?
No, wow, great interview.
Would you like to add anything?
No, that's great. Thanks,
Okay.
Patrick. Good job.
Thank you very much for taking time to talk.
Well, welcome to the local scene here.
Thank you. It'll be an interesting next